MTG Requiem. We're back with Shadow Jund. Let's see here. We are on the play. 4 lands is a lot, but we do have some ways to turn on an early Death Shadow. I think I'm actually going to keep this. It is a little marginal with 4 shocks, but again, we have the ability to do 7 damage to ourselves turn 1, which means we should be able to get Death Shadow down on turn 2, so we'll keep this. One thing I'm just thinking is if we happen to be playing against burn, we do want to have access to fetching our black and green sources later. So we're definitely going to lead out with Wooded Foothills, and we're just not going to do anything until our opponent's turn. If our opponent runs out like a turn 1 Goblin Guide, if they happen to be on burn, that's going to put our Death Shadow out of removal range, which is fantastic for dropping it on turn 2. So doesn't look like we have a burn player. Hopefully this is not fairies. Fairies has not been good. Serum Visions is a new Serum Visions. Okay, I actually drafted Serum Visions in Modern Masters 2017 last night. My buddies and I got together. I'll probably slowly and terribly tell these stories over the course of this league. But I drafted a blue-white flickered deck that splashed, I don't want to say, it splashed black and then like very, very, very lightly splashed very, very lightly splashed green for like a counter spell and a Rocks War Monk. So we're gonna go Blood Crypt. Gonna just go at ourselves. We can actually hold off on the Street Wraith here. Let's start by seeing what our opponent has. Okay, so they are actually a Shadow Bolt or Shadow deck themselves. Grixis Shadow. Alright, so what did he do with his turn? He put both cards on the bottom. If we take the Thoughtseize, he's in a position where, let's see, if we play out Foothills, that's going to put us down to 12. Street Wraith to 10, so our Shadow is still in range. So really what we need to take here is the Thoughtseize. We don't really have a choice, otherwise he's going to take our Death Shadow. And then we're just going to fetch down a little harder. Just in case we get like another hand disruption spell, which we didn't. So Thoughtseize slows him down from getting to his Death Shadow. We want to keep our Death Shadow out ahead of his, power-wise. Without getting so low that we're scared of Lightning Bolt. One would presume a Bloodstained Mire is dropping in here, yeah. And bottom tops his cards. You know, I don't know what's going on, but we sure feel like we're flooding out a lot here. Do we have to worry about bolt? I don't believe so. I'm just going to run it out there. He can't bolt snap bolt. You can only really get one bolt on the shadow this turn. If he brings out a red mana source, then we got to be a little concerned about him firing off bolt. Seems unlikely considering, you know, we knew he had one hand, we know he's milled one off. But it is something to consider. So if he cracks the Bloodstained Mire, well, no, I think either way we gotta... If we try and crack the Catacombs, that's a part of the cost, so the shadow's going to immediately go up. I guess it doesn't really matter, though. So if he bolts us and we respond, we'll crack it and make it bigger. If he has a second bolt, it's dead either way. So it looks like he's going to try and get his shadow down now. And here comes like a Tasigur or a Gurmag Angler, the classic zombie fish we all know and love. So anyway, yeah, I had a blue-white flicker deck last night, and I went 2 and 3 with it, 6 and 6 in games, but it was interesting. I thought the deck was terrible. I didn't really draft any creatures. Oh, brother. Okay, so we know he has a Watery Grave, we know he has a Lightning Bolt. I actually like the Verdant Catacombs over the Overgrown Tomb here, because it just allows us to drop to 6 versus the 5. We're also going to have to Street Wraith down, most likely, at some point. So, let's play this out. Unfortunately, we cannot attack. The question is, let's see, he's 7. He could bolt himself to make his shadow even bigger. Yeah, I think we're just going to end up losing this game. There's nothing we can do here. The only thing we can really do is try to block the Angler and then Street Wraith into a Fatal Push and hope our opponent doesn't hold a bolt. That's really our line. I mean, he can't effectively attack his shadow into the shadow, so he's got to attack with both. He has the Watery Grave to get it up to a lethal threat. But he's got the Fatal Push, so that's game. There's really nothing we can do. There's no point in even trying to Street Wraith there. I'm going to lose turn 4. Probably need to be maybe a little less aggressive here. I actually think from my experience so far, the Grixis Shadow deck is favored in the matchup. And actually, so while I've felt that, I actually had read an article by Michael Majors, who plays quite a bit of Shadow decks, a variety of the Shadow decks as well. And he was basically indicating that the Jund deck, while it's the most well-tuned to this point, and while it has a variety of benefits, being the best traverse version of the deck, it is actually the worst of the versions in the mirror, it sounds like, from his experience. So that was interesting. So we're definitely going to bring in Fulminator Mage. I don't think the match is going to go long enough, grindy enough for Painful Truths to really be a thing. I do think the Nihil Spell Bombs are pretty good. out of the side. Push can be okay, but the concern you have is they actually run a lot more. Half their threats are like delve threats to make them outsize the fatal push, so I'm probably going to keep that in the graveyard. So I think the question here is, do we want Liliana the Last Hopes? I think similar to the other versions, I don't know that we want a ton of the hand disruption here. Maybe we leave it all in anyway. But we're kind of in a similar sort of top decking war. Would it be better to have more threats? Or more threatening cards? Abrupt Decay. So Abrupt Decay is fine. He's probably not. No, he's probably playing Stubborn Denial. So Abrupt Decay could be a little bit better than the Fatal Push in some regard. Dismember is nice because it will be able to hit the Anglers and Tassigers. Battle Rage seems okay, I suppose. Tarfire actually seems a little weak here. So I think actually we'll end up cutting the Tarfires, and then we'll actually cut a Traverse as well. And that's what we're going to roll with. So we're going to get a really nice hand here. I mean, this is completely keepable. Plenty of threats. We have the ability to play a turn 2. We're good with this. Opponent's mulliganing down to 6. And put a card on top. So general sequencing with Bauble, if you potentially want to draw what you have on top of your library with Street Wraith, you could check before you play your fetch in that way, or before you crack your fetch. Tarmogoyf. So we are actually wanting that, so we're going to draw another Tarmogoyf here. And since we don't know what we're going to draw off the Bauble, we'll just hold that fetch for the moment. It's possible we want to get a red-green fetch. More likely we're going to get a green-black here. We don't actually have a ton of red in the deck right now. We want to make sure that we're not stuck on casting our black spells as we need them. No point in actually cracking our fetch here. We actually do want to draw another land at some point. Goyfs are already 4/5s, so I think we are just going to go ahead and run out one of those, and we can save the Thoughtseize into Death Shadows for a later turn. Actually, should probably try playing the Grixis Shadow. It's probably the one color combination I haven't tried yet. I suppose I haven't technically tried Obzon, but while the white for path is nice, I feel like if I don't know, I guess I feel like if we're going for well, actually, path might be alright. If you think about the decks that, and this is why I kind of had Splash White into my bug builds, but if you think about the versions of Shadow that run, or the Jund versions rather, what they struggle with are these creatures like Gurmag Angler or Tasker early, or they struggle with Reality Smasher, things like that. And so having access to a card that exiles those threats, lets you get through them where you can't really normally get through them with like a fatal push, makes quite a bit of difference. Maybe worth trying obs on. So I think we're just gonna throw out a bubble, and then we're going to just lead by attacking, and then based on what our opponent does, he's certainly representing fatal push. If he fatal pushes the Tarmogoyf, we can either replay Tarmogoyf or at that point try and Thought Seize whatever creature he's hoping to play, delve out next turn, followed by potentially a Death Shadow, except we can't do that because we don't have enough. We're not going to get our life total low enough, so it's probably just going to be a Tarmogoyf either way we slice it. But it will be telling if our opponent does not kill the Tarmogoyf. So we're going to actually hold the bauble. There's no point in doing it here. We'll do it on his upkeep. Well, that's a bummer. It's a good approach in the matchup. This is actually the reason I keep leaving the Jund Shadow deck, is actually the fact that it just has these 4 threats, or these 2 threats, 4 copies of each. The versions I've been running with, I've been running an aggro version, which I actually keep saying I'll make videos with. I've actually run 2 5-0 leagues with it. I think I've run 4 leagues total, and I have 2 5-0s with it. Is a version where I actually play Monastery Swiftspear and 4 Temur Battle Rage and a couple of Become Immense. And kind of otherwise the same shell. Obviously there's cuts because you can't have all the grindy pieces if you also want to have all the explosive pieces. But anyway. What's our opponent doing here? Opponent's going to be drawing a land. So we will take his Angler. So if we let him cast his Angler, so he could actually bolt. Yeah, he's gonna be in R8 shape. Angler's the card we have the most trouble dealing with here, though, so we actually have to snag that. And we can just hope we pull a fatal push for the Death Shadow. Man, I've been calling them this morning. So my buddy, who had bought the box of Modern Masters that we drafted with, had some pretty good pulls. I rubbed it for good luck for him, and so I actually ordered a box for myself and for him. And so I sent him a picture with the 2 and asked him, which one he wanted, the one on the left or the right, and told him I'd rub the box for good luck. And he cracked Liliana of the Veil, a Foil Abrupt Decay, a Damnation, a Verdant Catacombs, a Misty Rainforest, and in short, we were just like, everybody's kind of like, well, that's right. Josh rubbed the box for you. You got the Josh luck and got all the Josh cards. So anyway, so we know, that he has in hand a Lightning Bolt and a Snapcaster Mage. So we are actually going to fire this off here. Really hoping to... Ooh, yeah. What do we want to do? I guess we're just going to do nothing because none of our cards are castable right now. stop here on second main, make it seem like we're gonna think about possibly doing something. No. You got a foil terminus as well. But it was just fun to draft. It was actually really funny because we tend to draft. The drafting that we do as a group tends to only be my cube, and so basically, whenever we draft these other sets, we're just like, gosh, my deck is terrible. My deck is terrible. And again, like I didn't draft creatures for forever, so I ended up having to draft these blue-black creatures like Dinrova Horror, which is like a 4/4 for 6 mana. But it was actually awesome because I had this flicker deck, and basically what I would do was Dinrova Horror enters the battlefield, you return target creature to that play or to its owner's hand, and then that owner discards a card. And so I would like flicker it and just basically bounce their board, in the late game 2 or 3 times, and then make them discard their cards. It was awesome. Played out very much like a control deck. It was a lot of fun. Highly recommend it if you have the money to do it. It's funny because as you draft it, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing here, because you don't. Well, at least for us, we don't draft very often, and so it was good times. It'd be really nice if we could pull a heal Spellbomb here and empty that graveyard, so a Snapcaster Mage would be pretty useless. But yeah, blue. I think I had. I can't even remember all the cards I had last night. It was a good time though. Looking forward to drafting my box. Hopefully we'll get to do that in the next week or so, week and a half. While it's fresh in our memories. So I'm expecting the opponent to attack with the Tassiger here. He's going to put us down to 9, which turns on our Death Shadows. That actually makes his Lightning Bolt not be able to kill, so he's actually going to just hold back and try and force us to run it out so that he can Fatal Push him. But what that is actually going to allow us to do is run out this Fulminator Mage, or this Liliana. So if we Liliana, he actually can't kill Liliana without attacking her directly and firing off a Lightning Bolt. We could try and just play out the Death Shadows. So we could actually play Liliana, return Street Wraith to hand. If we do that, either way, we're fetching for black-red. Actually, I think we just want to go Fulminator Mage here, however. And we can start trying to grind down his mana resources. We do run a real risk right now. Him holding on to that Snapcaster Mage with Surgical Extraction in the graveyard makes it extraordinarily problematic if he so he is going to mill his graveyard. We will return probably a Street Wraith to hand. Yeah, so this allows us to play double Death Shadow. That allows us to play double Death Shadow with Temur Battle Rage the next turn. If our opponent attacks, puts us to 6, we can crack back, put him down to 4. I feel like we just need a chump here though. My concern here is that if we try and get cute and attack back, he just bolts us and then we don't get to do any of the damage. So we're going to block. And then the question is, what do we destroy before damage? So red cuts him off of... I mean, red's the only color we can effectively cut him off of. He's got triple black, he's got triple blue. We can halt some of his access. So I think we're going to go at the Blood Crypt. We don't want to let him get into bolt snap bolt range. It's gonna be Serum Visionings. But yes, I had one Serum Vision in that draft deck, and I had one great use of Serum Visions where I drew a land when I needed a land, but didn't need 2 more lands, but the other 2 lands at the bottom. And I think I had Deadeye Navigator maybe, and then basically with Soul Bond you can flicker it or its paired creature, and I was able to use that with Centaur Healer to basically flicker for 3 life turn after turn. It was pretty great. So I think, yeah, we're just... So he can definitely go for the bolts to kill one, and probably the Snap Fatal Push to kill the other. But we can Street Wraith out of range. In response to the bolts. And then hopefully that'll give us the ability to Temur Battle Rage him the following turn for the win. Okay. So what we have to do now is we're going to have to pressure him by Street Wraithing to make our Death Shadows 5/5s. And once we've done that, he's going to try and kill whichever one Tasigur is not blocking, most likely. He has to, because otherwise we're presenting lethal. At which point we should hopefully be able to just Temur Battle Rage over the top to close it. I mean, he has 2 more cards that we don't know about. The best he can do with Snapcaster right now is Snap Push. I mean, we definitely are in a position where we're in trouble creature-wise if he takes all of those out of the deck. We do have an issue if we block here. If we block here, and he does damage, he can bolt it and then Snap Fatal Push. So we kind of just got to let him do his thing. So long as he doesn't have another red source and a second bolt in hand, right? I mean, I suppose he could also have a Fatal Push, but he's already drawn 2. You gotta think he can't do that. I guess the Terminate could be a thing. But once he does that, he loses his ability to snap Fatal Push the other. We definitely need the creature on the ground, so we're just going to have to let this come through and hope he doesn't have a second red source and a second bolt. So now we don't even need to use the Street Wraith. We got to keep in mind that he has the bolt, so we don't want to dip ourselves into bolt range. Need to just move the Street Wraith over here. So the hope here is that his plan is to snap push and then use snap as a blocker. And then we can use Temur Battle Rage to trample over for the win. Though, did we have Temur Battle Rage or Temur Battle Rage when he surgically extracted? I don't think he did. We did. Unfortunately, the log won't show that. So we're just going to go to combat here. If he leads off with Fatal Push, we're just in trouble. Okay. So then here comes Snap, Fatal Push. Or is he going to just try and eat all of our Fatal Pushes at this point? Or eat all of our Death Shadows? We're really hoping he maybe decides to go Surgical Extraction, but yeah, Fatal Push makes sense. Well, crap. Makes you almost wonder if it'd be worth running Apostle's Blessing in this. Okay, so there's really, again, nothing we can do here. So what we're going to do, we're just going to run out this forest. We have to down-tick our Lily, grab a Death Shadow, replay it. Hope we can get through another turn. So the concern we have now guess we're still in the same boat, right? Short of him having 2 red sources and 2 bolts, we're still kind of okay. Looks like another Thought Scour or Serum Visions is about to come down. Bottom and bottom, that's good news for us. He has a bolt, but he does not have the ability to snap and Fatal Push. So short of him having a Terminate, granted if he had a Terminate or a Fatal Push, odds are he just kills the Shadow and attacks. So we should actually have this. He has 6, but we're going to do Double Strike. I mean, there's no reason for him to not just kill the Shadow immediately here with me tapped out if he doesn't have... Oh my gosh, are you kidding me, guys? Well, and he can't attack. He's going to bolt the Lily. No, he's going to go straight at me. So he's hoping to... Okay, no, okay, redirects. I mean, unless he has another bolt in hand, there's no reason for him to attack. So So this is actually a pretty great draw. We'll play the Woodfit Hills. This potentially sets us up to be able to hardcast Street Wraith next turn. We've eaten up his ability to cast his Gurmag Anglers, his Tassigurs. He could get a shadow that's bigger than us, however. So he's going to feed the graveyard and probably get a Tassigur or a Gurmag Angler out there anyway. They cost 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or maybe he attacks with both creatures, sacrificing the Tassigur on attacks to play a Tassigur as a defender. A Liliana would be nice. If we get Liliana, we could bounce Ghor-Clan Rampager to hand. Again, no point in attack unless he has a bolt. So if we ran Liliana out, we need access to red and green. So we could run there. Yeah, so we want the stomping ground, I think. Oh my gosh. Woo! Alright, so ask and ye shall receive. So a couple thoughts here. We can either kill the Snapcaster, attack into him, making him chump with the Tassigur, or we can return the Ghor-Clan to hand and attack. The concern with returning the Ghor-Clan is that if he has a removal spell, we're basically just stone cold dead to it. We could return another Death Shadow as well. That may be the better path. He's already used 3 Fatal Pushes. Yeah, so actually I think that's our plan. So he's going to have to jump here, most likely the Snapcaster. It's possible it's worth just going for the Ghor-Clan Rampager there, but again, I think these lists run Terminate, even though we've seen all the Fatal Pushes. So, short of him having a Bolt in hand, even if he has a removal spell for Death Shadow now, he does have to attack. There we go. So we're going to weaken his Death Shadow here. We're going to go to we can't, but we still can't Street Wraith here, which is frustrating. Just going to have to play another Death Shadow out. And then the plan would be next turn to Ghor-Clan Rampager. And we'll give him a Street Wraith that, well, I guess he can use it, but he can only use it by spending all of his mana, which we are okay with because that gives us the Ghor-Clan win. Oh, and I'll be right back. So basically, by giving him the Street Wraith, he can't cycle it. He can hard cast it as an extra blocker, but if he spends all his mana doing that, we can get Ghor-Clan and attack in for lethal. Unless he has a Surgical Extraction, in which case he can use the Surgical Extraction to eat the Ghor-Clan Rampager. So I think he's just seeing that now. So we're actually just going to throw everything in front of it in case he has a Battle Rage. The worst he could do is kill 2 of these. Don't know why he thinks that would be any different. And he chumps both, but we'll just overrun one of them. And because Tassiger and I have a lot of history, I'm going to overrun the Street Wraith. It's a little bit of a common courtesy. Alright, so we get the win there on turn 12. We'll be on the draw here going into the last game. One in the match so far. Question at this point is, what do we want to do? Painful Truth actually seems pretty decent, except it might be a little slow here. Again, Fatal Push, I think, I'm pretty happy with how the deck played out in that game. A bit long and grindy, but I almost wonder if we want to bring in like one other hand disruption spell. But I think we're kind of good. I don't think there's really anything I want to bring in, and I don't really see anything I want to take out. Abrupt Decay, unfortunately, is a little narrow. It's possible it might be better to have a Painful Truths, but just in case we need to get a Shadow killed through a Stubborn Denial or something. Our opponent is a little low on time, so it is possible that he ends up just not being able to close out in time. I mean, this seems decent. I like being able to potentially get to Liliana. We're going to be on the draw, so we're going to get a card. We're going to get to Bauble. Our opponent miss a land drop. Please tell me no. Okay. Sometimes you get those accidental misclicks where you keep a hand you didn't mean to. Visions or Thoughtseize? Alright, so he's Inquisitioning. I'm going to assume he's going to go for Death Shadow Surgical Extraction here. Strong turn 1 play. The fact that he hasn't snap done it means he is considering how much of a pain Liliana is going to be to him with his basic hand, with his current hand. Going to take a peek at our own Street Wraith. So we're actually not going to fetch here because we do want the Street Wraith to get herself a little bit bigger. It's going to help us turn on our shadows a bit quicker. But at this point we will go ahead and crack this down. Green, black, Tomb it is. So we can get to 14, 12, then their shadows are dead to Thoughtseize. So we're just going to go this route. Ghor-Clan is actually a decent threat here. Fatal Push is a little weaker against it. If we need to play it as a creature. Alright, so now we smell blood. Opponent missed land drops. Put one card on the bottom, one on the top, so he has a second land coming. But we're going to be starting to put some pressure on him here. So if he tries to play a threat, we have Ghor-Clan Rampager to rampage over on blocks. So I'm hoping he's going for like a Gurmag Angler here to try and buy some time. Which means we may be able to just close this out pretty quick. Okay, Thought Scour. So now he's in more of a Tasigur Fatal Push line of play. This is a Tasigur coming. It's going to weaken our Tarmogoyf. No? Oh, okay, Gurmag. Sometimes I feel like I think Gurmag costs 2 black, but that's actually the old flyer. Yeah. So where we are is we just got to be really careful that we don't put ourselves into bolt range. If we attack right now and he does not block anything, we Ghor-Clan Rampager him. I think the smart play here is probably, let's see, if we Bloodstain Mire ourselves down to 6, that gives us 7. Alright, I think we just play this out. And I think actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Death Shadow. My thinking here is that this may make him think, alright, I gotta just like come back on the crackback. I don't have the ability to block. And then we can just Ghor-Clan end it right here. Just really don't want to put ourselves into the 6 range. reason that we need to keep the Bloodstained Mire open. It's 814. He's taking 9 of it. Even if he spends creature, we're actually going to crack for a sideways land here. Again, I don't want to put myself in the 6 range, but I want to put him in a spot where with 15, 10 damage, he is really pressed against being able to do anything with his lands. Like if he has to like crack and fetch all of his lands to put himself down to 1, he's just kind of like pinched out, is the hope. Yep, that doesn't do anything. Alright, and that is game. So we got Grixis Shadow there. I do feel like Grixis Shadow feels a little more favored from my experiences so far, but getting the win there felt good. So 2-1 there, and that puts us at 2-1. And looks like, what, 4-4 in the league so far. Got 2-1 wins and a 0-2 loss to Abzan, which is a very unfavorable matchup. Anyway, so yeah, we were able to grind him out in the end here, which worked out great. It's possible that we had a little bit better game plan. The fact that he's keeping in all of his Inquisitions, I'm not saying it's wrong. It may be more right for him anyway, considering he's got all the Delve creatures that he needs to make sure he's feeding. But usually, like in these sort of matchups, it comes down to just who draws the gas. And those cards can be kind of bad, so you know you might keep the Thought Seizes in or some number of the Thought Seizes just to make sure that you're getting your shadows down as far as you need to get them down life total wise, or yourself life total wise, to make them big. But it's possible he's maybe not quite sideboarding right. But again, I haven't played the Grixis Shadow version, so I don't want to say definitively that that's wrong. But alright, I'll be back with more matches probably later today. Hopefully I'll get them uploaded before the end of the weekend, and you guys enjoy.